watching UNO with Dr. Ambrish Saxena.
Hello students, today is Thursday 21st of November 2019. India has created a new post, that is Chief of Defence Staff, and there is a possibility that very shortly an appointment on this post will happen. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while speaking from the Red Fort on his Independence Day speech, has talked about the office of the CDS. Since that time, there was a possibility that the government will very soon move on the creation of this post. Now, this Chief of the Defence Staff will in fact the chief of the chiefs of three armed forces. So, he will be the chief of the chiefs, and he will be the coordinated response of the country in the event of an armed conflict. He will be the principal military advisor to the government of India, though his rank will be the same as that of the chiefs of the three services, but he will be treated as the first among equals. He will be in the command chain as far as the nuclear weapons is concerned, and he will be focusing on jointmanship as far as the three services or the three armed forces is concerned. The lack of the CDS post was seriously felt during the Kargil war, because in the Kargil war, when the army started its operations against the intruders and the regulars of the Pakistani army in the Kargil sector, then the support of the Air Force was sought, but the Cabinet Committee on Defence could not take a decision in this regard, and because of it the army had to suffer lot of casualties. Even before the Kargil war, this had happened in India-China war in 1962, when only army had to fight and the Air Force was not used, despite the fact that Chinese Air Force was very weak, and had India used its Air Force, the scenario of the war would have been different. So, this proposal of CDS was mooted by the committee, which was a review committee set up after the Kargil war, and it was headed by K. Subramaniam. Though the recommendations were made, but no government could take a decision in this regard. So, finally a middle path was found and a post was created, that of Chairman Chief of Staff Committee. So, the senior most person among the three service chiefs was supposed to hold this position. The last one on this post was the Air Force Chief B.S. Dhanova, and at the moment the chairperson is General Bipin Rawat, who is the Army Chief. The problem with this kind of arrangement has been that whosoever is holding the position of the chairman does not have the executive authority over the other two chiefs, and also the appointment on this post is for a very short duration, because any chief who is holding this position remains there only few months, that is till the time he or she is retiring. Now, once the CDS means, as I told you already, the Chief of the Defence Services, once he is on his position, then the three defence chiefs will be free to control and command their own forces in the event of an armed conflict, and also an integrated command will be created instead of the current 17 separate service commands and 2 integrated commands. Now, moving on to another story, this is about the US policy with regard to Israel. Only yesterday, the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that the settlements of Israel in the West Bank are not inconsistent with international law. Now, let us first understand what this whole problem of the West Bank. West Bank is a landlocked territory by the side of the Mediterranean Sea, on the west bank of the Mediterranean Sea. And this is a territory which was for the first time in 1948 when the Arab-Israel war happened. Jordan annexed this territory. And when the second war happened between Arab countries and Israel in 1967, this area was captured by Israel. And then Israel started having its settlement in this territory. And at the moment, there are 130 Israeli settlements in this area, and these are the formal settlements, and the informal settlements are actually much more in number. And if we look into the population wise, then 400,000 Israelis, that is about 0.4 million people are living in this territory, and about 2.6 million Palestinians are living in this territory. This is a territory which is on the east of the Jordan on one side, and on the other side it is separated by a green line from Israel on the other side, that is west, south and the north. Now Israel is never ready to leave this territory despite lot of international pressures. And if I can tell you, both the UN, the United Nations and the International Court of Justice, they have very clearly said that this is an illegal occupation. And if we go by the 4th Geneva Convention, this convention says that countries cannot deport or transfer any part of their population in any territory which is occupied. And if we refer to the International Criminal Court, they call it a war crime. But then if we look at the shift in the US policy, this is considered by many critics as a self-goal, because after Trump came to power 4 years back, then he made this announcement that the occupation of the West Bank by Israel is inconsistent with the international law. Now he says that it is not inconsistent with the international law, and that time Trump has cautioned Israel not to go for further settlements because it will be an obstruction as far as peace in West Asia is concerned. Now, why Trump is doing it now? Because the presidential elections in the US are round the corner, and this is a gimmick for the vote bank, because the Jewish population is substantial in the US and he is trying to woo the Jewish electorates in the United States. And if we look into the other steps that the Trump has taken for the last 1 year or so, he announced that Jerusalem will be considered or will be recognized as the capital of Israel, and he even shifted his embassy, US embassy, from the capital of Israel, Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem. He has even announced the closure of the PLO office in Washington. PLO is Palestinian Liberation Organization. So let us see what will happen in this West Bank because of the shift in the US policy. That is all in today's edition.